Hey guys, Andy again. Spoken label back in the house on a Sunday evening. Yeah, no, it's not. It's a Monday evening. It's bank holiday in the UK, and I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, podcast I've got today is on a Monday. Few reasons why, but we're over to Canada today. I've been looking forward to this one for a couple of weeks now because we've got an actress with us today, among other things. Yes, an actress, and I've seen her relatively recently as well. And I'm going to blush now in Night Agent on Netflix when she starred in season one. We had the fantastic Jessie Liang with us today. Now, Jessie, obviously, that's not just you very touch foot. You've done a lot of other stuff we're going to talk about today. But I want you to take us back in time and tell us what you just told me about the background of your family and what's led you to Canada.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Andy. I'm so excited to be here and chatting with you today. Okay, so let's go back in time. Let's go back in time 50 something odd years ago. My family, so I'm Taiwanese-Brazilian, but not actually, like mixed with Brazilian. It's just that I was born and raised in Brazil. And before that, my family on both sides, they immigrated from Taiwan to Brazil, I believe in the early 70s. And that was just a part of the treaty that the governments had. So Brazil needed more immigrants, and the Taiwanese government was, I guess they just said bet, and then they shipped a ton of people over. Uh, Probably part of a trade treaty or something. Yeah, people need to fact check me on this. But I do know that in that decade of the 60s, there was probably about 1 million Taiwanese people that immigrated to Brazil. I'd say majority of us probably settled around São Paulo, which is the biggest city. It's a very metropolitan city, so more opportunities there for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of farms and yeah, so all of agriculture, all of that in São Paulo. But I do know that we're spread out around the country. And yeah, my parents were, I think my mom was maybe 11. And so yeah, her siblings were all really young. I think my dad's family was also around the same age. They did not meet when they were children. My dad took an actual boat. It took a month to get to Brazil
Wow.
from Taiwan.
Wow.
My
That's
mom,
incredible
I
dedication if you think
know,
about it. Yeah.
I
Wow.
know. Yeah, yeah. When I first learned about the term fresh off the boat, I didn't know that that was a real thing. And then I
Wow.
found out that my family, my dad was actually on a
Wow.
boat. Um, but my mom's side of the family, they actually flew to Brazil. So yeah, it was they had different immigration paths. My grandfather on my mom's side, he was an entrepreneur always. He was always looking into how to buy things from Japan and import it to Taiwan. So he was a full-on businessman. My grandpa on my dad's side, I believe he was drafted into the Vietnam War. So for him, he was also an entrepreneur, but when he saw the opportunity of going to Brazil, which is a beautiful country with the most amazing weather, and he saw that people, and this is air to me doing air quotes, only worked for 5 days a week instead of every day. He thought, wow, this place is amazing. There's no war there, the weather's amazing, and people only work 5 days a week. That's great. I'm
Brilliant.
gonna go there and try to build a whole new life. And yeah, and then my parents grew up in Brazil, and they met in university. I think my dad was 20, my mom was probably 16, so she was still in school when they met. But then eventually, once both went through the same university, after they graduated, got married, had kids, and that's how my sister and I were born in Brazil.
Wow.
And now I currently live in Vancouver, Canada. So I did the transition. I immigrated myself and did the transition there. I wanted to pursue my academic, career outside of Brazil. And I think my whole family was very determined that this generation of kids would try to live a better life. That's a whole point of being an immigrant. It's just everyone just wants to have a better life. And so a lot of us, like me, my sister, my cousins, a lot of us were programmed with the idea of studying abroad is probably going to be the best bet for our lives. And I actually I did that. And so I
Yeah.
was, I'd say the first one in. and a lot of my, yeah, this generation of the kids of this
Right.
generation to say, yeah, I actually do want this. I'm gonna study abroad, and then I stayed. I was very determined to stay in
Oh,
Canada. And now it's been, yeah, 16, 17 years, which
yeah,
is crazy.
I know I saw that when I was reading up in the footy. I knew he'd been there for a good 16, 17 years. And I saw documents
Yeah.
from a couple of years ago stating that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
respecting that one. Now, obviously, um, people read up on you. I know you've got HBA in management from obviously
Mhm.
Toronto, and you
Mhm.
graduated from Studio 58's acting program.
Mhm.
Where did your love of acting first come from?
You know, Andy, if I'm really real and honest, I think since I was a kid, I always loved acting. Always loved playing. Obviously, we all have huge imaginations as kids and we like to play pretend, but I think that was a thing that was always in me. I love to perform. I like to perform for my family and like be cute and get attention. You know, I tried to pretend that that wasn't a thing that I wanted to do just because I knew that the arts was never an option. So if I'm honest, I always had the desire to pursue this, but I stuffed it down and didn't think of it ever as much as I could until I was in my university years. And I thought about it, but it was always underneath, you know, always trying to do more theater if I could. I would audition for the plays in my school. Never got them, never never got in. But if there was a storytelling class or yeah, whatever there was, like acting wise, I would always jump right in if I could. And I remember going through university and looking at maybe if I could get an elective where I could try to do some acting. I was always looking into it, but I never did it until after I had already graduated from university and I had my business degree or management degree. And yeah, that was a thing that was always there. And then I had to come clean as an adult when I think I was 24, 25 when I finally told my family and I was like, y'all, I'm not happy. I need to try this thing that I have never tried. And I think the best feeling was when I told my sister. She was the first person that in my family that I told to, and she just said, "Yeah, I can see that." And I thought that she would say that I was crazy, but no, she just said, "Yeah, that makes sense. I see that for you." And I was like, "Okay, I feel validated. I'm gonna go do it."
Brilliant. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Like I said, 40, I've told me off mic before. I've been a poet since I was 10. And when I first started minrosing, when I got into my 30s, it was trying to tell your family that this is what you want to be, a creative person. And
Yeah.
I couldn't, my
Mm.
dad's, who's nearly 90 now, still can't get his head around it. He can't. Yeah, so it's your family's always interesting things of it straight away. So now, obviously,
Yeah.
people obviously would, if they research you, they would notice you've done quite a few roles on various programs, numerous ones, and I could name them and we'll let people research on it. But I want to learn about first of all then, when obviously, where did your theatre work come first, or was it the TV auditions thing you went to first, really?
Right. So while I was at Studio 58, it's a theater conservatory that we have
Hmm.
here in Vancouver. It's one of the top theater schools in Canada. And it's a 3 year long program. It's very full time. You're there, you know, they're expecting you to be there 60 hours a week, at least, I
Wow.
would say. Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy program. But yeah, it's a theater program. And when I was looking into theater schools or getting into acting, it was partially because I had to choose something like this because of study permit and partially that I'm just a determined person, you know, and I wanted to try out for the best schools in Canada. So at the time, I literally only auditioned for two schools. It was either NTS or Studio 58, the top schools in Canada, theater schools in Canada. Um, and I'm not discounting other programs like the other universities. It's just that I didn't want to go through another 4 year program. So I thought, you know, 3 years is good enough. And these were the only acting schools that would give me a study permit. for 3 years. Well, not just a study permit. I would get a study permit with a post-graduation work permit. And that to me was the most important thing because I wanted to immigrate and eventually get my permanent residency in this country. So got into studio and it's a theater school. And I thought, this is great, because from what I know, which was nothing, from what I knew at that point, was that if you do theater, then you can act in anything. Like that's just the most solid foundation of acting that you can have is if you go through theater. Because if you go to like a film class, you might get some like scene study classes and stuff like that, but it might not be as foundational. And I am so, I want to really dive in. I want to learn everything there is. So voice classes, movement classes, and obviously acting. And I thought like if one day I study Shakespeare, that's how I'll know like I understand how to act. It's like if I can do Shakespeare. So yeah, that was the program that I had that I went through and very theater based. So I was already auditioning. I was doing everything that I could during the summers, which is when you don't have class. So we had 4 months off every year, and I was doing everything that I could to audition. So I was auditioning for short films and commercials and other industrial videos and whatever that I could get on my own. So I was just hungry for gigs. I didn't necessarily focus on theater first. But while I was in theater school, I saw an audition for Kim's Convenience at the Pacific Theater, or at Pacific Theater here in Vancouver. And I, just thought, why not? This story resonates. I've never felt so seen. I've never related so much with a character. So I thought, I'm going to audition and I'm just going to put myself out there because that's what I was doing at the time. I was just taking leaps and bounds and throwing myself off of cliffs that I didn't know if there would be someone to catch me. And so that was one of those things. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And somehow I landed the role before I graduated from theater school. So while I was in theater school, I had a professional gig. It was the most, yeah, it's not, I don't want to say scary, but I was definitely intimidated because I'd never done something like that before, a professional production like that, and a story that meant so much to me personally. And so it was the combination of when the stars align and you have lightning in a bottle. And yeah, I think that was the most special experience I had. And it was a beautiful way to start my career officially because then when I graduated from theater school, I had an agent, I had done a professional gig, and I was just off to the races.
Yeah, no, I get you completely with that. You do. It's fact. There's a lot of stuff I could ask you next year, to be honest with you, but I'm going to ask you next the big one anyway, straight away,
Mhm.
because Night Agent, obviously, like I said,
Mhm.
40 now. But I'm going to ask you this question in a different way. Like I said, I first came away with you for your fantastic work on Night Agent season one, but that was like, and I'm right with this, aren't I? Because obviously, I know you've done other bits and pieces on TV work. But that was your biggest role to date, wasn't it? I'm right with that
Sure
for Cameron.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because, like, I've been in a couple of films, independent films, bits and pieces, some more
Mhm.
major than others. But you do when you look at them, like, it's doing what you've done with the Night Agent is a big difference. Saying been on, say, Maid or Supergirl, which, by the way, if my wife was with, she'd be asking loads of questions about that because she loves to see Supergirl off CW.
Oh,
She does.
really?
Yeah. Absolute
Okay.
loony in that series she was, right? She was gutted, she was gutted they finished it. So, but, but like I think the crunch point is obviously like, we're doing like that. We're doing like a large role in a TV series like that. What did you learn about yourself from just doing like, say, dropping in and out of some other series?
Yeah, that was an interesting process because it was the biggest role that I had booked to date. And I was so excited about it. I don't think you understand when you book these things, like what it means to your career. And especially when it's a new show on a streaming service. You never, because especially when it's Netflix, you never know if they're just going to cancel it after the first season. You have no idea when it's a new show if people are going to like it, if they're going to watch it. There's so much content out there that it could just disappear into the ether. And we've heard all of those stories of, Netflix putting millions and hundreds of millions of dollars into shows that literally never make it to the
Yeah,
platform.
you do. You do
So
come across them because like there's one come on Prime recently. Was it Nemo over here? And I know that was a Disney show originally, but they cancelled
uh,
it before it even got onto air. And they did and Prime
yeah.
bought it. So you come across things like this. You're right.
Exactly. It's just like the most disheartening and sad thing. So I booked it and I thought, I was so happy, of course. But then again, so much of this industry it's not guaranteed. So just because I could say that I was like a fully recurring character on six
Mm.
episodes of this show, it doesn't really mean that much. I'm still, auditioning a ton. And yeah, it's great to have it on your resume, but it doesn't guarantee jobs in the future. So I was excited, but definitely a little apprehensive in the sense of I don't want to go buying myself a house kind of thing. I also didn't make that much money, but I didn't want to be that kind of
I didn't hear you
person.
say that, right?
But I didn't want to be that person of like, oh, this is going to change my life because I was like, okay, well, we have to wait until the show comes out. We have to see if this means something like there's a continuation of the show. And obviously, you watched it, so spoiler alert, folks. I don't think that my character would make a lot of sense to go on to other seasons anyway. So, yeah, what I learned I mean, about myself specifically was so this is an interesting I don't even know if I'm allowed to share this. I mean, probably because I didn't sign an NDA, but this is when you book the whatever episode that you're on, you get the script for it. So I only got the scripts for the episodes that I was in so that I could read what was going on, what my character had to do. And I was so jazzed because, as you know, Andy, in the last season, the last episode that I am in, my character, she gets like duct tape to the heater and
I know.
yeah, she's
I was
held at
thinking, ow, when I
gunpoint.
saw that. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on in that episode, and Val is my character, Valerie. Val is, she's being held at gunpoint and she has to help Peter out on this situation, and she thinks he's a terrorist and all of these things. But when I got the script, it actually said that there's a whole action sequence that happens inside of her apartment. So she gets held at gunpoint, somehow sneakily is able to call the police by pressing a button somewhere in her apartment. And then the cops come, and then Peter has to fight them. And there's like a stunt moment for me, my character. And
Oh,
I lost my mind because that's the most exciting thing for me. Like I don't tell the people a lot of this, but like I love action. Not like, oh, I love action movies. I'm not that big of a fan of action movies themselves. I don't watch that a lot of them, but I do think that they would be the most fun I would ever have on a set. I'm like I grew up playing sports. I love shooting target shooting, trap shooting. And so if I could be like on a John Wick, that would be the dream. Like I all
oh,
I want to do is go on set and do my own stunts. And
oh,
so
yeah.
I'm so jazzed for that episode. I was like, I can't wait. They're gonna quote unquote duct tape me to a chair, and then I'm gonna have to flip over and like fall over on some broken glass and just like try my best to escape and put up a fight. And no, and then they rewrote that episode.
Rat. To rat.
Yeah. And they crushed my dreams. And yeah, it was so sad. So like to date in my career, I've been doing this for over 7 years. I've only been able to do one action sequence, like one quote unquote stunt. I don't even call it stunt because it's not really a stunt. It's just an action sequence that I got to do in an episode of Charmed. And it was me running in front of a car. I almost get run over and then I don't. And then I just remember, we did that scene. They didn't tell me that I was going to do that. So obviously a lot of the production was like, here we go. We're gonna see like if you're comfortable doing it, blah blah blah. Long story short, Andy, I nailed it in the first take. And they were
Oh,
just so excited. They were like, holy shit, that was amazing. Let's just like do it again. But they for sure thought that it would take forever because, actors are not stunt people, stunt performers. And so, or not that they're not, but a lot of the times, yeah, one thing doesn't mean like just because you're an actor doesn't mean that you can do your own, stunts. And so that was a moment of me like feeling so validated and being like, I really hope I get to do more of this in my career. And I really wanted to do it with the Night Agent, and it's
Oh,
like an full action heavy show. And at no point did Val get that. She only got to make tea and then
oh,
get duct tape to the to the radiator in her own apartment, and that was that. And so one of the things that I learned about myself was, like I have to like stay more present with what is going on. Like you never know if things are going to be successful. I was obviously so grateful for the role and the opportunity, but I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself with like what the show would mean. And I think that was the right move because, it actually just because I was on that role, on that show, it didn't translate into like, oh my God, now that was my break and now I'm like working consistently. It actually didn't work out like that. But the positive thing was that my manager, that's when I signed with my manager. I have an agent here in Vancouver and a manager in LA, so I was able to expand my team with that show. So it did bring me a lot of good things, obviously, but yeah, I think like the fact that I have more of a business mindset, because of my management degree, or maybe I'm just a more logical, grounded person. But I'm glad that I didn't get too far ahead of myself of just being like, oh my God, this show's gonna solve all of my problems, or else I would have been, I think, more like disappointed about how my career went since that show. And also that I really love stunts. And so if that's something that I want to do, I could like focus on doing more of that. And so yeah, I got back into like boxing classes. I did end up taking some stunt, like not stunt, but like action performance classes here in Vancouver. So it sparked something in me and it brought me back to who I am, which is like, I'm not just an actor. I am a person who likes to move her body and I am interested in learning a bunch of new different things. And so yeah, I got out there like shooting more, doing more boxing, looking for action classes.
I think you
Yeah.
do is often like you find sometimes you're doing stuff for what you've done. I had a lead role in a certain play over in Manchester some years ago now,
Mm.
and I went into the method acting moment of it where
Wow.
I had to play a drunk, and the trouble was this was the last play I ever did because I got that petrified. It was a big play. I wasn't sober for the 5 nights the play was on, and the director was chasing me around trying to sober me up and failed. Right, but
Oh
yeah.
my
Yeah,
God.
but I know what you mean with it. It's you learn about things. Anything you do like this, it's a learning practice and all the
Yeah.
time. That's why it's a fantastic story. That really is. Now,
Yeah. And
no,
everything in life is practice, right? Like we
yeah.
can't think that there's a destination. The only destination, I mean, not to get dark, but the only destination that we all have is death.
Oh
That's the
well.
only thing that's guaranteed. And then after that, the rest is, yeah, practice at living life, you
Yeah,
know?
I got four words for that. You've got the same four things in life. Or there's birth, work, taxes, and death. Right, that's my philosophy.
Yeah, yes, you are
You
absolutely
you
right.
can't forget, you can't get
Taxes
away from
is
taxes.
100%. Yeah, that is a guarantee. The government will come for you with those
Oh,
taxes.
the buggers for it. So now, obviously, looking at a different side of things, then obviously, you sent when we connected originally, you sent it
Mhm.
over to me a link to have a look at for your very fascinating PDF of unconventional tips for actors. Now,
Yes.
I want to learn about what. Obviously, I know what this is lead links into, but what made you want to do this?
I think one of my biggest passions, Andy, like I love acting so much. I love everything related to acting. I would act for free. If I didn't have to pay my taxes, I
Yeah,
would act for
exactly.
free. Yeah, I would, and I do actually like I help people through their careers. A lot of people, like a lot of my friends, they will ask me industry questions and I'm like happy to talk about acting and the business side of things and career, like all of that I'm just so passionate about. And I think it comes from my own experience once I graduated from theater school and just being like, what now? Like, I know you need headshots. I know you need a demo reel. I know you need a resume and you need an agent. And then I was like, okay, and I'm doing all the things, so what else is there? You know, just being that much of a determined person to want to do well in my career. And so the reason why I created this PDF and also just like since 2020. So it's been almost 5 years that I was just like, I want to coach, I want to put myself out there to be able to. I created an online course in 2020, and I always wanted to just like help people as much as possible, but not just like any person. Mostly I want to help people that are starting out in this industry, so emerging actors, or in the industry what we call like people that are like green. So like the green actors out there that are, you took a couple of classes and then you're like, what do I do now? What do I do with my life? How do I make my materials, the most professional, presentable, the most exciting? And it's because like it's just this industry is full of myths and stories of like overnight successes, which happens, of course. And it's also got a lot of scammers out there. The industry also moves so quickly. So even tips that you would look at from maybe things that people would teach you from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it might not even apply nowadays because the industry moves so quickly, and the technological challenges and innovations that we have changes our industry so quickly. So my main thing was like, I want to keep making sure that the people that have just gotten out of school or starting out, they maybe were like me, they were trying to do like corporate life. And then one day they were like, I don't want to do this. Screw this. I actually want to try my childhood dream, which is I want to try acting. Okay, well, once you do all the things that we all kind of sort of know that we should do, how do you actually put yourself out there in the industry? And so I do my best to demystify the industry as much as possible. I want to help people feel confident about their time, whether they're auditioning or even rehearsing something. Like if their biggest challenge is theater, then like that's the thing that I want to help them with, like trying to give people as much information as possible, because I think there's so many gatekeepers in this industry, and it's so hard to get that information unless you are in it, unless you're talking to people, unless you're doing the research. And like, not everyone has all the time in the world. So, yeah, I do it just out of my own passion. I'm always listening to podcasts and finding casting directors on Instagram and taking workshops and doing what I can. And then once I have all of that information, I try to give it out as much as I can because it can't be just for me, right?
Yeah,
And
of
so a
course.
lot of my life experiences, I'm like, I have that information and wisdom now. Great. How can I use this to help people out there? So yeah, I created this PDF that's called Unconventional Tips because there are things that I started out with thinking I have to do this. And then over the years, with my reps and then just being a working actor, just being like, oh, this doesn't actually apply to me. Or this is an outdated piece of information. And here are the things that we don't actually know. These are the things that no one teaches you because they're just focused on getting you to become a better actor, which is so important, obviously. You have to, it's not just talent. You do have to be an actor that has technique. And so those things are not always taught in class. Most people don't have no idea that an actor's resume looks nothing like a normal resume, like whatever you see on LinkedIn. It has nothing,
LinkedIn's nothing to do with that. I know that from doing
yeah,
my creative CVs.
nothing.
Nothing at all. No.
Yeah, and then people are like, "Oh, I guess you have to have an IMDb and all of that stuff." And I'll tell people, just like I put it in I think it's in the PDF, but I tell people I'm like, "You don't need any IMDb page because I don't think people know this. It's not like Wikipedia. Like it's not just like anyone goes on IMDb and creates a page. You create it yourself as an actor, and obviously the cost is on you. And it's like I think $250 or something a year to have your own IMDb. And so if you're starting out and you don't have any credits, like why would you do that? You don't even need it. No one's going to be looking at your IMDb page if you don't have any credits.
Exactly.
So I always tell people, I'm
I
like,
didn't
hey,
know
if
that.
you're
Oh,
starting out, save your money. Save your money to put it towards something that actually matters, right? Like you need a self-tape setup now at your house. You are gonna need it. It's non-negotiable now. So you need to save money for that. I would rather you use that $200 to buy yourself like a proper studio light in your own house and a backdrop than spending it on IMDb when you don't really need it.
Exactly. I think it's, I agree with you. A lot of it is managing your tensions and your money. If you haven't got loads to start with, you're right. The backdrop thing, 'cause I've seen enough audition tapes
Mhm.
is like to know what you're doing with that straight away. Or you do what I'm doing, just put a backdrop up of your save you my second novel. Because if I knock that down, all you can see is boxes around the back of me. So yeah, I know
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Now,
Hmm.
there's a couple of fascinating topics you put on. I think you put these in your little brochure. And I want you to tell people a bit about these two. Was when to
Okay.
sign versus when to fire an agent. And obviously, Jesse, if your agent's listening, this does not apply to them before we start.
No, if Josh were listening, he would know. I always tell people he's one of my favorite people on earth.
Hi,
I love
hi,
my
Josh.
agent to death, so that won't happen. Or it won't happen anytime soon. Let's say that. Um, just to keep everyone on their toes. No, but I do love Josh. And so I don't think that that's something that we need to worry about. And that's why I tell people like, hey, if you are not happy with your representation, fire them. Like you're not there are other agents and agencies out there for you. Like my biggest pet peeve is when, and this is something that so many people are so scared about. So a lot of theater actors will go through a theater program and then they're like, I'm so scared of getting an agent because I don't want my agent to tell me to not do theater. And I always tell them, I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, go find another agent.
Yeah,
You know, like if you know that theater is important for you, why would you sign with an agent that will prohibit you from doing something that you love? And like I think you would know this even better, but like there are so many brilliant actors out there that will always make sure that they do like at least one play a year or something like that because it's like the actor's gym. It really is it's the actor's medium, I want to say. Like that's, when you're on set, when you're doing anything on camera, you can do your best acting, but hey, if what for whatever reason continuity wasn't right, the camera didn't pan the right way, and you weren't in focus, then that's it. You got to do it again, or they cut and pan to someone else, or yeah, they even cut your whole scene out, no matter how hard you acted, right? So film, commercials, TV, it's a different medium. It's a medium for writers, it's a medium for editors, it's a medium for directors. But when you're on stage, it's like the director did everything they could and it's hands off. The playwright did everything they could and hands off. Actors have to be on stage and just do their thing. And it's live, and whoever gets to experience it will experience it on the day. And so, yeah, if it's truly a gym for your acting skills, and it's something that I think is so huge. Like, if you know that you love, why would you give it up? An agent that says, that to you is someone that isn't actually out looking for you, like looking out for you as a person. They're not looking out for you at all. They're just thinking about how much money they can make off of you. And I don't think that that's fair. My approach into going into the business is seeing people not as gatekeepers. Agents are not gatekeepers the same way that casting directors are not gatekeepers. These are people that are actually they want to help you. They're cheering for you. They should be rooting for you. They should care about you as a person. You're not just a career, you're not just a money maker. And so your agent should be your business partner. They should be happy for you as a human being when you're saying like, "Hey, I need a break. I need to take a break from the industry. Don't send me auditions." They shouldn't be like, "Wow, you suck and now I'm never gonna send you out again." They should just be like, "No, that makes sense.
yeah,
You
of
are only
course.
human."
Yeah, of
And
course you do.
so,
I always believe anything like that. You've got to be able to take a time off, otherwise you end up
yeah,
your head explodes. Yeah, in
exactly. And
anything. Yeah,
so that was one of the things that I tell people a lot. And so, like, you should know yourself first and foremost, right? Like, you know what you like and what you don't like. I think, like, some people are out there that they will say like I never want to do theater again after they go through theater school, and
But
I
I've
get
summed it
that.
up. I won't ever act in the theatre again.
Yeah.
I've probably got
Yeah.
blacklisted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So no matter what your career goals are, you should find someone that is aligned with and with you in that. So I think that your agents, your reps, your managers, they should be on board with you as a career, as a person, not just your career. And so that would be a red flag for me of like someone that before you even sign with them, they're telling you what you should and shouldn't do in your career. Not to say like if they say you should get new headshots and you're like, I'm not going to sign with them. I don't think that that's the case. What I mean is like you know yourself as an artist and you know that like I don't know, painting is super important for you. That means you're going to always have to take 2 months out of the year to focus on your painting. Then yeah, that's great. You should bring that up in your interview with the agent. And before they sign with you, they should know that. You should be able to communicate with them super clearly about it. And they should be like, that's awesome. I will support it, you know? Or if you're in a play, then you want your agent to be like, congratulations, I will come and watch you in the play, you know? And instead of being like, you shouldn't because I won't make money off of you. That like I think that's a little bit rude.
yeah,
So when should you sign with an agent? Well, you should know that you also need to be prepared. As any other relationship, business relationship, you know, they're going to be doing a lot of unpaid work to get you out there. They're going to be looking at all the breakdowns, and try to submit you as much as possible whenever they think that you are, you know, that you have a chance, and they'll be putting you out there. And until you actually book that gig, it might be months of them doing unpaid work, right? So it's not just you're doing auditions for free, they're also putting you out there for free. And so yeah, they don't make money unless you make money. So also having that like respect and the you're going together into this business where you have to be doing everything you can to be ready for when this moment happens, when this business relationship happens. So, do you have the materials? Do you have the headshots? Do you have a resume? Are you doing everything you can? Like, you do you have the training and everything like to be able to go into that to pitching yourself to agents, being like, I think that this is why you should have me on your roster. And once you know, you go into that conversation, you're ready for that interview. Like, do you have questions for this person, right? You're not just going in as a job interview. You are interviewing the agent as much as they are interviewing you. You want to know if this is the right business relationship for you before you sign. I don't think people should just sign with anyone just because. A lot of people might sign with an agent from a big agency because they're like, oh my God, it's like, I don't know, CAA or something like a massive representation. But like sometimes you're not suited for that, right? Like sometimes you would do so much better with a boutique agency. Like I signed with a boutique agency when I started because I was like, I like the feel of a family. I like to feel like I know everyone that I'm talking to. I want to get to know my agent's assistant, and I want to get to know my agent as a person, as a human being, and that doesn't just a work that doesn't only work. And I also like the not just the feeling of familiarity, but the feeling that we're in this together. Like my agent, I think he had started maybe 2 years before I signed with him. So he was also fairly new in his career. And I thought that was actually a positive thing. And I wanted that. I wanted to feel like I was taken care of. And I knew that when I was starting out, I would have a million and one questions. And I didn't want to be with someone who would just leave me, like ghost me and leave me on red, you know? There are so many people that I've met that have said, like, oh, my agent never talks to me unless they are sending me an email. And it's not even them, it's their assistant sending an audition request. And if they have any questions, they're like new to the industry or they have anything that comes up for them, they'll be like, oh, I've never talked to my agent ever. And I'm like, how is that even possible? I don't understand. Like, I had a friend who was with someone for 16 years and he never saw that woman in his life. And I'm like,
oh,
how? How can you have a proper relationship with
can't do it.
someone
Can't do it.
who you don't even know. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Like maybe she killed it with like getting him out there. I don't know, but it was something that to me I was like, this is not a relationship that I would want because yeah, why wouldn't you want to meet the person that's like basically, yeah, your business partner? Like you wouldn't get auditions or big auditions, I guess, without your agent. And so, yeah, I think you have to be so ready and prepared for that first meeting when you're, or even when you're looking to you're looking to fire an agent and get a new one. You have to know what are you bringing to the table? What do you have as like, what's your value? What makes you unique? What questions, how do you like to work? How do you like to communicate? Like have all of that prep done. Then, when you are with an agent and you're feeling like this person, oh, there's a siren. Quiet on set, please. Um, and then when you are with an agent and you're not happy with them, like you haven't had an audition in, I don't know, months, like 3 to 6 months. I don't think that's normal. And if you keep asking them, like, hey, checking in with you, like, why am I not getting any auditions, like, not a single audition in 3 to 6 months? And they just say there's nothing wrong. I think that that's like a little bit of a red flag because you have to try to open that communication and just being like, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can. So if there's something wrong with my materials, if you think that I should get more training, like what's going on with my self-tapes, like am I what are, does has casting said something about me and it was not great? Like what can I do to improve? If you're opening that conversation up and then that agent is just like you're fine and doesn't talk to you and then you still don't get auditions, maybe you should fire them,
I think
So
so.
there,
I agree completely with you. You've got
yeah.
to, the agent's there to represent you. If they're not basic, they're not doing the job. Move on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there are going to be multiple reasons for you to start to like garner, little red flags to be like maybe I should be looking for a different kind of representation. But yeah, I would say the biggest ones is if an agent tells you you cannot do something for your mental health, for your
Mm.
career goals, for your own personal goals, like yeah, you even like you want to start a family, like okay, then that shouldn't stop you from being an actor, right? Like there are working actors out there that can do it all. They have a family, they have their side hustles, they have their day jobs, and they're still going out there and killing it. So I think you have to have a proper conversation with your agent to know like you guys have this, you are on the same page with regards to like career goals, what you want to do with your life. And if at some point it feels like you're being ignored, like they forgot about you, you're not getting auditions, this is all like, okay, maybe I should look for a different rep who will believe in me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's what you wouldn't necessarily know, Jess, is obviously the perks of being a podcaster like myself, an established one, is I deal with agents quite frequently, actually.
Yeah.
I've got about four, and I'm not naming them, four who I speak to regularly. And I've had meetings on Zoom with them about their clients and stuff all the time. And it's great because when you deal with a proper agent and knows what they're doing, they will know who will fit your vision. It comes both ways. So yeah,
Yeah.
completely agree with you.
Hmm.
I like it. And I
Hmm.
know a couple of publishers as well for the same reason. I've just been speaking to a publisher this evening who's got three writers signed up for their books next year, and I know two of them already myself.
Wow.
So it's like, and I know them enough saying, yeah, would they want to do this? And their publisher tell me yes straight away. So it's, you know what I mean? It's a networking process, and if your agent's good at the job, I agree with you. They will know what will fit your strengths as an actor straight away or creative person.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's not just yeah, and a lot of people will look at their agents and think like, "Oh, I hate that I have to pay them a commission." It's like, well, until you book that job, they are working for you for free.
Yeah,
So like, why
exactly.
not consider them as your business partner? Like you're in
Exactly.
it together. No one's
Yeah.
no one's an enemy here. Like,
It's a tag team. Like if you watch say you watch WWE wrestling, you're a tag team. You might be the prominent partner in the team doing most of the work, but the other person's at the
yeah,
back of you to come in and rush in and help you out if you need it. Yeah, I completely
yeah,
agree. Now,
exactly.
Jesse, I'm looking at the time here now. We've done nearly 50 minutes already, would you believe?
Oh
And
wow.
I've still got three more big questions I want to ask you here.
Okay, okay. I'll be
Should we
fast.
take a quick, no, no, I say, should we take a quick break for 2 moments, everybody?
Okay,
Come back and there'll be a
sure.
part two. I will do this occasionally and I've thoroughly enjoyed this so far. So I want to ask you everything. So,
Great.
right, everybody. Thank you, Jesse. We will see you, everybody. I promise you in part two in a couple of moments' time.